I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken episode number 364, and breaking today, migrant madness as fury grows up and down Britain over revelations that 28 violent criminals and at least one terrorist from Afghanistan have been allowed to live here, as infuriating scenes from inside the former RAF base in Essex reveal the privileged life these criminals have been allowed to lead on our dime. But leftists are going wild about the fact that our hard leftist Islamist Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood is pretending to do something about it, fooling a whole load of people.
Is the Home Secretary proud that the government has sunk to such depths that it's now being praised by Tommy Robinson?
You never told anyone when they voted they were voting for this. This is extreme, this is inhumane, and it is a government of cowards.
So what are our police focused on? Branding this commentator, yes, an anti-Islam commentator, a terrorist in the latest shocking overreach against free speech.
Well, I mean, the reason I've got bacon on my shoulders is because the terrorists are a charming lot and they threaten to behead me every single day. So a little bit of protection.
Ryan, what's going on? Can I go with them in front? Why is that? What's going on here? They let you out?
Yeah, but look, terrorism, Schedule 7.
Insanity. But amidst all of this migrant madness, what have The Guardian and the Daily Mirror and the entire Westminster class decided is the most important story of the day, the biggest story of the day? What Nigel Farage apparently told classmates as a teenager 4 decades ago to back up this Lammy lie.
Yes or no, is Nigel Farage a racist?
I answered your question. I'm not going to play the man. I'm playing the ball as our leader did. I will leave it for the public to come to their own judgments about someone who once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger. That is for the public.
So I'll expose why Labour has no real plan to end this invasion of our country at all in my digest next. Then the brilliant Carol McGiffin joins me for analysis. Also coming up on the show today, Slippery Starmer is losing the battle to stay in number 10. A coup is underway, folks, with Mahmood emerging as the top contender to replace him, prompting a meltdown in Washington, D.C. I will tell you why. And Mike Graham rejects a chance to work for GB News after his Talk TV sacking, as new figures reveal a cratering lack of trust from Brits in the corrupted MSM. Then, in the uncancelled after show over on Substack, Catherine, the Princess of Wales. This was great. She has unveiled her blueprint to be Queen, while Meghan Markle, by contrast, hawking honey using her 2 children. It's the biggest contrast between the real Duchess and the fake Duchess, yet we'll have all the latest with YouTube sensation P. Diner over on Substack, www.outspoken.live if you want to watch after the main show. We'll also reveal before the end of the main show our greatest Britain and Union jackass of the day. Here are your nominees. You can vote in the YouTube live chat right now. The aforementioned Shabana Mahmood, nominated by It's Only Me 44 for plans to evict war heroes from their historic base in Scotland to make way for 300 male asylum seekers, makes me fucking mad. I hear you. Peter Mandelson, nominated by Real McCass for being caught peeing in the street. Yep, that's fair enough. And Yasmin Alabaya Brow, nominated by Matt Cass 48, who says Yasmin obviously thinks we should forget any nasty or murderous things done by illegal guests. If we mention it, then we're the bad people. So 3 interesting choices. Get voting in the live chat. In YouTube right now, I will unveil the winner and go through some of your best comments at the end of the show, so stick with us today. But now, let's go. The British Uprising is coming. We will only be gaslit for so long before we say enough. And fuck me, we are being gaslit, right? Like, the idea that Shabana Mahmood, an Islamist, a literal Islamist, who used to welcome illegals onto the shores of the Greek islands, is the woman to crack down on the invasion. Come on! How stupid do they think we are? Indeed, after 24 hours of tough talk, which was designed to trick the cucked MSM, Mahmood, there, look, she's actually admitted. Her plan is to welcome more people into the UK via the so-called safe and legal routes. So as Tommy Robinson raged, and putting them next to you, nowhere near them. They're given priority housing, pushing the natives further down the list, many thousands literally onto the streets. It is all smoke and mirrors as they're dying in the polls. Call a general election now. And worryingly, folk are becoming used to revelations like this. 28 violent criminals and at least one terrorist from Afghanistan have been allowed to live here under the relocation scheme. To hell with that. To hell with that. And it's actually citizen journalism showing what these male invaders, many of whom are rapists and terrorists and murderers, all of whom are criminals by virtue of the fact they've broken into our home. And it's the independent media, the citizen journalists, who are showing what they are getting up to at our expense. So look at this. Migrant party brawls and laughs at your expense inside the camp at the former RAF base in Essex. The Express has reported today, with groups of male asylum seekers at RAF Wethersfield filmed singing and dancing in a common room complete with a disco ball and glitter lights. They're all men. They're all men. Watch this. It's all fun and games, but where are all the vulnerable children and the lovely women? You know, that the left always claim are coming on those boats. Didn't spot any there. Tommy Robinson responded, as the UK government plan a new tax rate on the British public, £10 million a day, housing unvetted migrant men in hotels across our country, veterans sleeping in doorways. This is how the invaders are living at RAF Wethersfield. And he then shared his own video of the breakfast buffet, writing, as Brits are forced to decide between heating or eating this winter. This was RAF Wethersfield yesterday. Fighting age foreign invaders lining up for their taxpayer-funded canteen. And it sure looks yummy. Watch.
Good, yeah?
3 meals like that a day, paid for by us, for these criminals. And they are all criminals, by the way, by virtue of the fact that they're here in the first place, to live a life of Riley. But look at what happens when things turn nasty inside RAF Wethersfield.
Calm down, that's it. Calm down, everybody. Yeah, that's it. Yasser! Brother, film. Good, huh?
Yeah, this guy, yeah.
Well, yeah, no eating,
No,
funny, still not seeing any women or children. Are you? Maybe they're chained to their beds. I mean, seriously, what happens when those animals are let out on the streets? Well, we know. And of course it is madness that we are paying for this, yet still our elite class, driven by the hard leftists like the tit whisperer Zach Polanski of the Surging Greens, claim that we are in some way in the wrong.
Every single Labour MP needs to look to their conscience.
Why?
The interview we just heard, you said it yourself. The question was, you never told anyone when they voted they were voting for this. This is extreme, this is inhumane, and it is a government of cowards. Rather than take on the powerful, because the issue here is not immigration, it's inequality. They went for pensioners, they went for the disabled, and now they're going for people who are fleeing war and conflict. I am furious. So many people are furious because this is a totally unconscionable way to deal with things. And how dare the minister say we are an open, tolerant country? How dare she come tonight to Newsnight and talk about compassion at the same time they're talking about seizing people's assets? I am a child of Jewish ancestry. I am Jewish. We have seen this with Nazi Germany. We are seeing it in 2025. This government need to hang their heads in shame.
OK, you're obviously...
And of course, no anger from someone like Zach Polanski about white British girls being raped in the tens of thousands, yet there is Nazi hysteria building. Because Philip Proudfoot also posted, we've now reached a stage where the Labour government is taking direct policy inspiration from Nazi Germany, prompting Nick Dixon to reply sarcastically, so glad we can finally have a rational discussion about illegal immigration. Labour MP Olivia Blake, I'm sorry if this woman's representing you, by the way, said this.
Really concerned at how inhumane these policies seem to be, and they seem to be painting refugees in particular in such a bad light. The policies that they're bringing forward, you know, they're going to cost huge amounts of money, and for what purpose?
For what purpose, you silly bint? It is to stop criminals, illegals entering our country and then stabbing to death good, honest patriots like Wayne Broadhurst, for example, like Rhiannon White, for example, when they're not even meant to be here in the first place. Is that not enough for you, you utter woke cretin? Colin Brazier responded to Olivia Blake by writing, it will seem outlandish that a Labour MP representing any city in Yorkshire can paint attempts to stem the flow of illegal migrants as cruel. To walk through parts of Sheffield, Rotherham, Hull, Bradford or Leeds is to bear witness to a new dystopia. There's the cruelty. Oh, but that's not how these Labour lunatics like Nadia Whitham think, of course. Indeed, they want to use any opportunity here to raise their bogeyman, Tommy Robinson.
The Denmark-style policies briefed in the last couple of days are dystopian. It's shameful that a Labour government is ripping up the rights and protections of people who have endured unimaginable trauma. Is this how we'd want to be treated if we were fleeing for our lives? Of course not. So how can we be adopting such obviously cruel policies? Is the Home Secretary proud that the government has sunk to such depths that it's now being praised by Tommy Robinson?
Well, Mr. Speaker, look, I'm disappointed at the nature of the question from my honourable friend. I hope she will look at the detail of the reforms. And what I've said already on these matters is that we have a proper problem that it is our moral duty to fix. Our asylum system is broken. The breaking of that asylum system is causing huge division across our whole country. It is a moral mission for me to resolve that division across our country. I know that the reforms I will be setting out later on today can fix this system, and in doing so can unite what is today a divided country.
Dan Hodges responded by writing, the reality is Tommy Robinson and Reform feel cheered by Labour MPs like Nadia Whitham. What scares them are Labour MPs like Shabana Mahmood. But I'm sorry, they shouldn't be. Because as Connor Tomlinson has brilliantly outlined, Mahmood is a mega fake. He responded to her writing, and there it is. Britain's Pakistani Muslim Home Secretary responds to the thousands of foreign criminals crossing the English Channel in dinghies by creating new, safe and legal routes, making it easier for more migrants to enter Britain. Opposition to mass migration is not caused by demographic change, agents lacking the proper paperwork. We don't want more people coming to Britain. We don't want our economy plundered, our culture disfigured, and our towns and cities turned into third world slums. The Hobson's choice is not illegal immigration or importing would-be channel crossers via regular asylum routes. We don't want them here. We can just say no. We can deport the troublesome foreigners already here, and we should. But Shabana Mahmood talks tough only to do the opposite. She cannot be trusted. These reforms bear down on illegal migration. They tackle the factors that draw people onto small boats to make perilous channel crossings. They ensure that we enforce our rules more robustly, returning illegal migrants who have no right to be here. That is all talk, Mahmood. But what's very troublesome to me, and you'll notice no one in the mainstream media is prepared to talk about this, right? But it's true. Our parliament is already being taken over by sectarian interests, with Jonathan Wong pointing out a Bangladeshi Muslim, a Pakistani Muslim, and an Indian Muslim debating which flavour of Muslim should determine the fate of Britain's future demographics. And Lawrence Fox added, I wonder how many British Christians are representatives in any parliament in any Islamic nation, any of the staggeringly small number of Islamic states which function under the illusion of democracy, obviously. And that was in reference to this moment in Parliament where Mahmood was taking questions from some of the sectarians in our Parliament. Watch.
Families after they've resettled here because their country is deemed safe is simply wrong. Could the Home Secretary tell us how the government determines what a safe country is, and will she publish the criteria? And given that she mentioned the DRC earlier, is she really saying it is a safe country over there? And will she also publish all existing returns agreements so that members of this House and indeed the British public can properly scrutinise them? I have done the reading and it's not in the detail.
Home Secretary.
Well, we already do safe country reviews, so we would seek to continue that. They are publicly available in terms of our position on different countries, and in fact mostly pass through secondary legislation in this House.
Given the UK's historical and ongoing involvement in unlawful military interventions alongside allies such as the United States and Israel, how does the Home Secretary assess the correlation between these foreign policy actions and wars and the displacement of populations resulting in increased numbers of refugees and asylum seekers arriving in the UK? And what steps will her government make toward proactive peace-building initiatives and the restoration of overseas humanitarian aid, which could address the root causes of displacement and reduce the long-term pressures on our asylum system?
Secretary.
Well, the government always plays its full part in peace processes wherever we can. We put our shoulder to the wheel on the delicate and diplomatic efforts that are required to bring conflicts to an end.
So yes, we have a problem. We do have a problem with sectarianism coming to Westminster and with Islamism clearly taking over politics of the left. Yet so-called patriotic publications like Unheard, owned by Paul Marshall, the bloke behind GB News and The Spectator, are actually running headlines this week on whether Reform UK is going too Christian. As Lawrence Fox pointed out, just imagine if the headline was, is Parliament too Islamic? Yet, of course, our police remain far too focused on what they believe is an easy win for them. Islamophobia, right? Islamophobic thought crimes. I mean, I don't even believe in the word. It's a term made up by the Muslim Brotherhood. But you might remember Ryan Williams. He's the very controversial anti-Muslim campaigner who caused a shitstorm down under over this appearance on Rupert Murdoch's Sky News Australia.
Well, I mean, the reason I've got bacon on my shoulders is because the terrorists are a charming lot and they threaten to behead me every single day. So a little bit of protection. But I've got to say, you know, I'm from the UK. We have the threat nearly every single day from Islam invasion. Our second biggest city, Birmingham, is already majority Muslim. Our mayor of London is Muslim. And the new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is Muslim. And I just have a very clear, simple message to Muslims, which is stop worshipping a pedo warlord who's a Bonnie Blue of the 7th century sleeping with 30 Al-Zoot men, who married a six-year-old and slept with a 9-year-old. And there's only one culture that pours acid on women's faces. There's only one culture that makes women cover their faces so other men don't rape them.
Been told we do have to apologise for what was just aired, those comments earlier.
Well, you can imagine how the left reacted to that. And Sky News Australia folded like GB News does these days, like Talk TV does these days. They not only booted that guest off air, they axed the show altogether because he was allowed to express his view in a sort of funny way about some of the horrors of Islam. Well, this week, he actually returned. Ryan Williams returned to the UK and was arrested and charged with terrorism offences upon landing at Heathrow Airport. You won't have heard about this in the mainstream media, but watch.
Ryan, what's going on? Can I go with them in French? Why is that? What's going on here? They let you out?
Yeah, but look, terrorism, Schedule 7.
But what did you actually do for them to suspect that?
They said it was my social media post.
There's only one culture that pours acid on women's faces.
So, yeah,
against mass migration and Islam?
Exactly. So I had to give them all my passwords for my phone, all my passwords for my social media, all my laptop. They've taken all my phones, laptop, everything, banking, everything. I was saying the truth that Prophet Muhammad slept with a 9-year-old and married a 6-year-old, which makes him a pedophile. So that's what I was saying. And now I'm getting investigated for terrorism. This is way worse than I could ever have thought. I thought I'd just be a normal criminal, like being done for hate speech, but I don't want to get done for being a terrorist. That's something different. So
I mean, the consequences are more severe.
Yeah, well, if I go to jail for being a terrorist, that's a lot worse than just hate speech.
As Eddie 43211 just said in our live chat, this is Tommy all over again. And it is ludicrous overreach. It totally impinges on our free speech, on our right to do journalism. But as I said, completely ignored by the regime media, who has decided that this bloke is beyond the pale. Instead, an actual political party, the loser Liberal Democrats, are gaining momentum, having launched yet another campaign to see GB News shut down. This time for running an analysis of people with foreign-sounding names. Watch.
GB News, yes, them again, has aired a segment so reckless it's hard to believe it made the broadcast.
This is exclusive analysis is shared with GB News tonight, and the results are genuinely shocking, using methodology based on non-British sounding surnames.
And how were these numbers gathered? With someone turning up to court to count names which didn't sound British enough. That's it. No credible data, no verification, just racism dressed up as analysis. This is outrageous. It risks stirring up hatred and stoking division among communities who are part of the fabric of Britain. Even the presenters admitted their research was flawed, and yet GB News still chose to broadcast it. If this doesn't breach Ofcom's broadcasting code, which says the views and facts must not be misrepresented, then what does? So yes, we're calling for Ofcom to launch an investigation and take serious action into people who would peddle such fake news. Spreading misinformation on national TV is dangerous, and we can't let it go unchecked. We Liberal Democrats will stand up against populist lies wherever we find them, because we cannot let Trump's America become Farage's Great Britain.
I mean, this is clown world territory, and it is the reason we are screwed. But now, Carol McGiffin is here. McGiff, goodness gracious me. So those scenes within RAF Wethersfield are absolutely infuriating. They're causing this uprising. And of course, everything that Shabana Mahmood is claiming she's going to do. I'm not going to stop this at all. Like, the fact that she is closing down the hotels and moving people into air bases like this, look, it's still a luxury way of living. these absolute criminals are still being given total freedom to wander around the local areas. I mean, it's not being treated in any way as if they are imprisoned. And I just think when you look at scenes like this, McGiff, no wonder the British people are starting to say enough.
The British people have been saying enough for years now.
Six decades.
At least, like whenever it first started, which was too long ago. I mean, this sort of footage. I mean, where did this footage come from? I always ask that question because it's obvious that they want you to see it. Whoever's put it out there has put it out there not because it's like, oh, you know, we need to stop the boats coming in and this will stop them because people will get more angry. They want you to see it because it's a massive, massive wind up. And the fact that Tommy Robinson gets so aerated about it is, I don't really understand it, because what does he think? What do people think goes on in those places? You know, you can see them when they come off the boat sometimes, waving and clapping and putting their thumbs up and look, isn't it wonderful? We made it. They're celebrating openly when they're supposed to be fleeing persecution and war. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Every single part of it is ridiculous, and it's been going on for so long. And for any MP, it doesn't matter which party it is, to say we're going to stop the boats and this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a hard line like Denmark, and we're going to send people back. Well, okay, how are you going to find them? Where are they? How are you going to pick them up and send them back? You can't. It almost leaves me speechless every single time. Every single time you see all this, and it keeps on coming out and nothing ever gets done. And like I've said before, the government are organising this. They've got to make it look like they give a shit and like they're going to do something. But of course they don't. This is all part of some massive plan. And who
100%.
knows where it's going to lead?
100%. And I mean, look, Shabana Mahmood, so she basically cosplays Carol. Okay, so for 24 hours, she cosplays as a hardliner, totally suckers in the right-wing MSM in the UK. Like the Daily Telegraph are running columns saying, oh, this woman's good. It's like, are you insane? She is absolutely part of the plan. She is absolutely part of the Islamist takeover. And sure enough, you know, there is the post. More safe and legal routes are coming, you know, which is, so it's like, it's more.
There already are safe and legal routes. It's called legal immigration. It's like applying for visas and doing what people do when they want to bring a spouse to the UK or whatever. And I know people who have done this. It costs a lot of money to do that. That's a safe and legal route. And at the moment, that's the only route that should be allowed, because these people, 99.9% of them are not fleeing any war or persecution. Doesn't matter what any of those MPs inside the Houses of Parliament say, they're not. This is not cruel. This is not inhuman. They shouldn't be here in the first place. They talk about, you know, lists of safe countries. Is France on the list? I bet it is, because it's a really safe country. And yet this is where they're all coming from. I mean, it beggars belief that anybody takes it seriously. And especially, it doesn't matter if it's the right wing MSM or the left wing or, you know, commentators or politicians or anybody. The fact that anyone even questions it, it's all just, it's just bollocks.
And Carol, then the person they are arresting as they enter the country is not those rapists, you know, not those terrorists from Afghanistan, you know, provably terrorists, by the way. They're not being arrested. It's this guy. It's Ryan Williams, you know, a British citizen who, yep, he's pretty spicy. But, you know, in my view, he's spitting facts, and, you know, maybe he's doing so in a way that offends some people. But he's arrested under the same terrorism legislation that they tried to convict Tommy Robinson on and failed. I mean, and I think the terrible thing is, Carol, he clearly, in order to get released, having seen what's happened to Tommy Robinson, did hand over his phone. Well, I'm sorry, I wouldn't. You know, this is chilling.
No, I wouldn't, and I would have. I mean, surely he knows about the precedent's been set by Tommy Robinson. The fact that he didn't hand over his phone, but I think that's why he was accused of being a terrorist, though, wasn't it? Because he wouldn't hand over his passwords,
Yes,
his
and of
phone
course
everything.
he did. I mean, look, yes, he was cleared by the judge, but the state, the deep state, the police put him on trial. The case cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. Tommy was obviously supported by Elon Musk, which was a brilliant thing for Musk to do. But, Ryan Williams is probably thinking, well, what? I face bankruptcy or I hand over my phone. I mean, it's just Sophie's choice.
Yeah, and he's right. I mean, it wouldn't be a good idea to be convicted of terrorism in for anything. But how are they allowed to arrest people for terrorism on such stupid, trumped-up charges? He's not walking into the country with a bomb on his back or anything like that, is he? He's talking about Islam in, like you say.
We have no blasphemy law.
Ugh, it's so unbelievable. This law must have changed quite recently because they're
just changing the interpretation of it, though, aren't they? I mean, this is what sickens me. We're told constantly we don't have a blasphemy law in this country. They're looking at bringing in a definition of Islamophobia, clearly to shut people like him down, shut people like me down, shut people like Tommy Robinson down. But at this point, as it stands, there is no blasphemy law. So they're using trumped up terrorism charges. I mean, to me, it is one of the most shocking things that has happened. But of course, Carol, no coverage of it. It's like they pick and choose, don't they? So like Graham Linehan, who, do you remember, he was completely ignored and shunned by the MSM for years. But the Overton window has shifted enough, thanks to people like J.K. Rowling, that all of a sudden when he was arrested at Heathrow, okay, no, the MSM are going to go in on this one. It's a story now. Graham Linehan's almost acceptable again. But they don't actually care about the overall, which is that it doesn't matter if what the person is saying might be offensive to you, GB News or the Daily Telegraph might sit outside your Overton window. The point is the same principle applies, and you should be just as outraged about the arrest of Ryan Williams as you were the arrest of Graham Linehan, but they're not, because they look at him. It's a bit like the case with Alex Belfield, they look at the guy and they think, oh, he's a bit unpalatable, so we're just going to ignore that it's going on.
Yeah, they don't want to be on that side. They don't want to be seen to be defending him because, God knows what will happen to anyone who does.
100%, but you're not defending him, are you? You're defending the concept of him being allowed to speak out against Islam. But no, you're completely right. That's how they view it.
Exactly. It's criminalizing speech. It's criminalizing thought. It seems to be getting worse and worse. It's like, with the online safety bill, it's like, there's certain things that you can't say and people don't say, and they self-censor all the time now because they changed that law. They brought that law in, or that bill. And I've never read the bill. I know if I read it, I would probably have a coronary or something because it would just wind me up so much. And it's unjust. It's not justified, and it shouldn't be allowed. You shouldn't be. And I know we're going to talk about Mike Graham, but you were talking to him yesterday, and they are literally criminalising and shutting down opinion and free speech.
Yes, they are.
And anyone who dares to say what they actually think these days really are walking a tightrope because they'll come for you. They'll come for people like that Ryan. They'll come for you.
100% they will. Carol McGiffin, did you see the front page of the Daily Mirror, though, with Keir Starmer, who seems to be living right in his own alternate universe, literally claiming that he will lead Labour at the next election? Carol, it's over. Like, he might not realise it, but it is over. The coup is underway. But what the issue is, of course, is that there is a huge war within the Labour Party about who is going to replace him. Because, of course, you have Shabana Mahmood, who is, I believe, the favourite. But you also have other leftists like Angela Rayner and Ed Miliband and Andy Burnham, who, of course, wants a seat. But to me, this all comes back to Mahmood, because there is this desire for there to be an Islamist to take on the Islamists of the left. And while I clearly see the threat in that, when I'm looking at this as a political reality, Carol, I sort of get it, right? Because you've got the big threat to Labour on the left is from Islamist parties now. Like Zach Polanski is running an Islamist party in terms of the Greens. Your party, which is going to be some type of combination with Jeremy Corbyn and the sectarian MPs, maybe Zara Sultana, although she's even too crazy for them, it seems, is an Islamist party. So their idea is, well, if we get an Islamist in the hot seat, then we are going to save our seats. Now, this is already causing huge consternation amongst the MAGA base in the USA. And I want to show you what Laura Loomer had to say about this. She's obviously a bit of a Trump whisperer. She posted, as Shabana Mahmood moves to unseat the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, here's what the US needs to know about Britain's Home Secretary. She delisted Syrian Islamic Terrorist Group, HTS, from the UK's designated terrorist list in October of 2025 as one of her first items of business. She supports the Muslim Council of Britain, which the UK government in a 2015 Muslim Brotherhood review found was influenced by the Muslim Brotherhood. She is affiliated with Islamic Relief Worldwide, which is banned or restricted in several countries for ties to the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas. She has said publicly on video that all of her decisions revolve around what's best for Islam. And she asked, why are we still sharing intelligence with the UK? And just in case people haven't seen it, by the way, I want to show you that video that Laura Loomer refers to. I've played it a lot on Outspoken. Watch.
Islam, my own religion, like a lot of practicing Muslims, my faith is the most important thing in my life. It is the absolute driver of everything that I do. I feel a very strong calling of my own conscience, and my conscience calls me to God.
And again, she was also, I mean, I find it hilarious when people sort of think she's the one who's going to crack down on illegal immigration. She literally used to go to the Greek islands, you know, where the boats would come in from Africa and welcome in the illegal migrants. Again, caught on video. Watch.
We're still here at Shabana, where another boat of refugees has arrived over from Turkey, and the layout is that there's a clothes station where they can get some dry clothes, and then there's a medic station, and then there's some food. All of this is being provided primarily by young Greek volunteers, and honestly, I take my hat off to them. Some of these people don't have very much.
But her backers are now just openly admitting that there is a plan to get her into number 10 Downing Street. This was Maurice Glassman on Talk TV with Julia
Do you
Hartley
think
Brewer.
Shabana's the future Labour leader?
Look, I think your audience should know that she's my friend and I love her very much. So
That's the answer to that is
I don't
yes.
talk about
So Carol McGiffin, do you know what I think is so shocking? I mean, outside of this show, it's left to Laura Loomer in the US to actually start talking about what Mahmood is really about.
Yeah, I know, that's weird. I hadn't seen that tweet from Laura, and I didn't know most of that about the Home Secretary, and the fact that there is probably a plot to try and usurp Keir Starmer and get her in is pretty bloody terrifying. Actually, it's like
Yes.
it's like you were talking about last week about the secret plot to take over, and it's like they're going to helicopter her in some kind of coup, and there we have it. We have a leader of a party who is a Muslim and a Muslim, and quite a radical Muslim at that. From what that.
Well, I mean, she's a fundamentalist, isn't she? She said that every single decision in her life, including every single political decision, is driven by Islam. So, I mean, I'm sorry, to me that is radical and that is fundamentalist, because that means that every political decision she's making references the Quran.
Yeah, she doesn't really speak much about that anymore, does she?
No, I wonder why.
Now that she's the Home Secretary. But it does make an absolute nonsense of everything that she's saying, everything that she thinks she's going to do. You know, look, why doesn't anybody in Parliament pull her up on that? And all you get is people from her own party, you know, fake liberal lefties, Labour Party members, backbenchers, questioning her on how inhumane it is to send migrants back to where they come from, even though they're not in peril. It's just so unbelievable. Why doesn't anyone with any authority or any power question what she's doing and put her right? You do, but no one in the mainstream media ever picks up on it. No one in the mainstream media. You wouldn't see a front page headline with who does Mahmood think she is saying these things, because this is what she said in the past. That should be front page news.
Yeah, they're totally sucked in by her because of this talking tough thing. And I just wanted to take you through sort of what the Westminster guys are saying about Starmer, right? Because even they are now admitting that he's done. He's finished. I mean, it is an astonishing political fall from grace. But this reporting from Politico this morning, you know, that's what everyone in Westminster reads. And they report that Stephen Swinford from The Times reckons ministers have decided it's inevitable. Starmer will go. And the spreadsheets are already being fired up to find a challenger. MPs in the soft left Tribune group reckon they've got the 80 MPs required to put a candidate into the contest against Starmer, although they're far from agreed who that will be. Former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner was present at one of these meetings. She definitely wants a comeback. Of course she does. However, Wes Streeting, I think he's a stalking horse, Carol. I mean, there's no way they're going to go for someone. I mean, I don't view Wes Streeting as moderate, right? But this is all about moving further to the left. That is the irony here. So, so the contenders outside of Mahmood are Angela Rayner, Ed Miliband, and Andy Burnham. There's just no way that the Labour Party is going to elect someone like Wes Streeting, who is viewed as being moderate. So the hilarious thing is he's now trying to prove that he's on the hard left. So you've got all of these major figures in government at a time when this country is literally economically screwed, cosplaying as hard leftists. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. And this is going to destroy Britain even more.
I kind of watch all of that and think, what difference will it make? What difference will it make? They keep swapping leadership, swapping governments. Let's have a general election. Someone said earlier. What is the point? They're all the same. They all do the same thing. They all say the same things. And what would be the point of changing the leadership of the Labour Party now, mid-term? I mean, there isn't going to be a general election. They're not going to call it, but they are trying to cause some kind of, economical damage. It's almost like they're doing it on purpose. It's almost like Keir has volunteered for the job so that everybody hates him, so that they can get him out, so they can have a general election. But then who will get in? It will be Reform. And, you know what I think about Reform. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them either. They're part of the Uni Party. They're the fourth member of the Uni Party. And that's where we are. It's like I look at it and I can't really even get worked up about it, because it's all so bloody pointless. And not one thing will make the slightest bit of difference. It doesn't matter if they put a lefty in there, don't matter if they put a moderate in there, don't matter. Why are they doing that? Why don't they let the party members vote for the person that they want, like they used to? But they don't do that anymore. They didn't do it in the Conservative Party when they parachuted Rishi Sunak in and got rid of Liz Truss. I mean, do you understand what I mean? It's so frustrating, isn't
increasingly, unfortunately, it does feel a bit like democracy is a mirage, in all of these parties.
It's a joke. Yeah.
But I don't know, at some point, I think the tipping point comes, you see, and there is a growing movement in this country. It is a battle for the heart and soul of the United Kingdom. But of course, that is why I think Reform UK has to be much stronger in terms of what they're doing. And certainly at the moment, they are not.
Nope.
Speaking of Reform UK, the mainstream media has gone completely ballistic over the past 24 hours in regards to comments that they claim the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage made at school as a teenager 4 decades ago. Surely not that sweet young thing. What? He was really a Nazi? Well, according to The Guardian and the Daily Mirror, who have splashed this story all over their front page today, deeply shocking, they say. Nigel Farage faces fresh claims of racism and anti-Semitism at school. And let me tell you, I mean, goodness gracious me, the Westminster elite are going for this. Jessa Elgott, who's the deputy political editor of The Guardian, trumpeting on her X page huge revelations about Farage from those who knew him. He would be sort of singing these kind of gas-em-all sort of songs. I have a very strong memory of him using the W word and the P word for those of South Asian origin. What sticks in the memory most is not just his odious and prejudicial opinions towards black, Asian and minority ethnic students, but how central and public these views were to his whole school persona. So, look, I think what has to happen, right, is we need to talk about this. And I'm going to do that with Carol McGiffin in just one moment. Over on GB News, my former employer, which is increasingly becoming the propaganda arm, really, for Reform UK. And interestingly, I don't think that helps Farage, actually, because what happened on air when a Labour Party MP dared to raise this story this afternoon as that Martin Daubney, who's, you know, a good guy, but absolutely wants to stand for Reform UK at the next election. You know, he is a Farageist, first and foremost. He freaked out. He panicked. He ended up yelling at this guy because clearly there's this three-line whip at GB News that we just shouldn't talk about this at all because we don't want to terrify Nigel. My view is, no, let's discuss it. Let's expose it, you know. But I want to show you what went down on GB News this afternoon. Watch the terror in Martin Daubney's eyes.
The real story here is actually not this kind of Westminster tittle-tattle. It's the deafening silence coming from Nigel Farage. There are some very serious allegations in newspapers about some of the things he said. Members of my family were murdered by the Nazis. He needs to come out and explain himself.
Those allegations are very, very old news. They've been repeatedly lied over the decades. There's no substantive proof on any of them. I think it fits into, you talk about Westminster tittle-tattle. This, I think, could easily fall into the same camp. David, there's no substantive proof ever emerged for any of this, and be careful what you say.
Witness after witness has talked about this. Nigel Farage has yet to come out and talk about these allegations, and especially as a channel that gives him a platform. I think it's really incumbent on you to make sure he answers those questions.
David, Google is your friend. Nigel has talked about this years ago in the past when they came out, the same allegations a long time ago. This is recycled hit job. You know it. I know it. Let's get back to your own Prime Minister, neatly deflecting onto the leader of Reform, as you always do, because he seems to live rent-free in your head.
So, Carol McGiffin, look, I will come to these allegations in just one moment because I think they are bullshit, right? Like, I think what Farage said at school 40 years ago, it's like, that's all you've got. But there's also something to me which is really odd about the GB News reaction as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like Daubney was like terrified, be very careful what you say here. You know, it also doesn't help if there is no scrutiny whatsoever from the right on Nigel as well. Do you know what I mean? Because if Nigel's going to be Prime Minister, then actually we've got to make sure that he is legit on a whole load of areas, you know? So I don't like the fact that GB News, which I used to be very proud of, is just like a propaganda arm for Nigel now. Like, why not have the debate about whether Nigel said this? But Martin had clearly been told. It was just so obvious to me he had been told, we are not talking about this story about our dear leader.
I'm not sticking up for anyone here, Dan, but what if he's right? I mean, what if I don't remember Nigel ever talking about this, but what if he has? I know he's denied it vociferously again, I think. Again, I say again, because I'm just listening to Martin Daubney there. I'm thinking, well, maybe he has talked about it before. But it's what
do
makes
you care?
me
Do you care if he made these comments at school? Does it matter? Is it relevant at all?
It's not relevant to me, no, and it shouldn't be to anyone, because you can always tell when something has made it this big into the papers and it's come out of kind of nowhere, whether or not he said it before, whether or not it's been out before, probably wasn't a very big story, and maybe Martin Daubney knows that, and he knows what the history of it is. But when it comes out and it's like, people are, they're like hyenas, like trying to, grab at a corpse. It's like they're really sort of going for it. It's like when any right-wing person, like you even, and people who suddenly get these leftist witch hunts against them, and if they are becoming a little bit powerful, then that's more likely to happen. And they just come from nowhere and they're everywhere. And it just becomes a thing, right? No, you will talk about this. And I know you're buying into that, but it kind of makes me think, well, no, don't talk about it. It was a long, long time ago. Okay, what if he did say it? Was it right? Was it wrong? Why is everybody always debating whether or not someone said something or not? Occasionally you've got to be sensible and think, right, well, yeah, does it matter it was 40 years ago? Does it matter that I think he said it? Does it matter that you think he didn't say it? It's he said, she said, and it's nonsense. And if Nigel doesn't rise to it, and I'm not a big Nigel Farage fan anymore, and I did used to be, if he doesn't rise to it, then I say good for him.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you. I do. You are right, though, in saying that my approach is like, we've got to talk about these claims that are out there, but I don't care. And I think the vast majority of my audience won't care. I think sometimes you just have to show how desperate the left is. This is the main revelation. By the way, a little bit of background to this. It was sort of out there before via that hard left journalist, Michael Crick. Do you remember him? He used to be on Channel 4 News.
Yeah.
And he's always on GB News now. I actually banned him. I never had him on my show once because he hated GB News so much. He hated Farage so much. And I actually think GB News engages in suicidal empathy by having these type of people on. That's a whole other story. It sort of came from him initially, but The Guardian has now gone and interviewed these new woke people at the school who clearly have an axe to grind. So I'm just going to read just the little start of this expose on the front of The Guardian. It is the hectoring tone, the jeering quality in Nigel Farage's voice today that brings it all back for Peter Ettergy. He would sidle up to me and growl, "Hitler was right," or "gas them," sometimes adding a long hiss to simulate the sound of the gas showers. Ettergy says of his experience of being in a class with Farage at Dulwich College in South London. Ettergy is and this is relevant, Carol, a BAFTA and Emmy award-winning director whose credits include Kinky Boots, McQueen, and Superman. So he's uber woke, right? He's that guy there on the right, ironically. Back then, he was a 13-year-old schoolboy at a loss as to how to handle what he describes as a sudden and inexplicable intrusion of anti-Semitism in his life. This is the first time Ettergy has spoken in such detail of his alleged experiences, but he is not the only one. In recent weeks, The Guardian has heard allegations from more than a dozen school contemporaries of Farage who recount incidents of deeply offensive behaviour throughout his teenage years. However, in legal letters to The Guardian, Farage has emphatically denied saying anything racist or anti-Semitic when he was a teenager. He has also questioned whether there is any public interest in airing allegations that date back over 40 years. After weeks of asking, a spokesperson for Reform UK gave a statement. These allegations are entirely without foundation. The Guardian has produced no contemporaneous record or corroborating evidence to support these disputed recollections from nearly 50 years ago. But Carol, the Labour Party are going all in on this because they have actually officially, like this is the official Labour press account, has posted that Guardian article and said these are deeply disturbing allegations. Nigel Farage must urgently explain himself. Anything you've heard there, Carol? Does anything you've heard there change your view?
No, none of it. It rings a lot of bells. You know, the way people are behaving, the way the guy who's interviewed the director in The Guardian. It's like, oh, it's all just coming back, and you know, it reminds me of how I felt 40 years ago. It's like, well, why didn't you say something 40 years ago? Where are the dirty dozen that The Guardian has heard from that's saying exactly the same thing? Well, they'll probably remain anonymous. No, it's like, you know, it's this kind of, you know, dictatorial behaviour. It's like, we will talk about this. Nigel Farage will answer to it, but he's already denied it. And, you know, they're just trying to bring it up. It's on the front page. It's probably on the front page for some kind of to disguise or distract from some other much more important story. But who knows what that might be?
Probably the destruction of our country, let's be honest. And it was interesting at PMQs today because Lee Anderson just sort of went all in. I think he performed well, actually. And Starmer tried to raise these Farage allegations, but didn't quite have the balls to go all in. Watch.
Whilst the Labour front bench continue to peddle their own form of dog whistle politics, Reform UK...
Dog whistling.
Reform...
The expert.
Reform UK are cracking on with the day job. Our reform-led councils are reform...
Can I just say, you might say it's the way he tells them, but it might be worse. It's the way I tell them. Lee Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our reform-led councils have already identified savings of over £330 million in the first 6 months. And the Prime Minister may shake his head propped up by these gullible backbenchers, but here's the challenge. Will he ensure that all the cancelled elections from this year and the proposed local elections for next year will go ahead in May 2026? Go on, be a man.
I didn't realise he's quite so good at stand-up comedy. Mr. Speaker, he talks about dog whistle. Last week, his leader said he didn't have time to condemn the racist comments of his fellow MP for Runcorn. He also said he didn't have time to condemn his party calling children in care evil. He didn't have time. I wonder if he can ask his leader next door to him whether he's got time for his explanation for the stories in today's papers.
McGiff, what did you make of that?
Well, I thought Lee Anderson did very well there, actually. Yeah. Exactly. That's kind of bolsters my point a little bit, because Keir Starmer's all he's interested in is the stories in today's papers. When is he going to respond to it? When is he going to deny it? When is anybody going to condemn him? It's like, you will condemn him, otherwise, well, what will happen? I mean, it's just that I can't watch Parliament. I can't watch the way that they behave, the way they are like a bunch of school kids in there, and just throwing, insults and things at each other. It's just awful, and it's quite shameful, actually. So, I repeat what I've said before. I hope Nigel doesn't rise to it, and I hope he doesn't apologise, and I hope he doesn't explain. And for all we know, he already has.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. I don't think this is going to change anything. I mean, as Carl Benjamin of Lotus Eaters said facetiously, "Oh, they've got him now." And that's the thing. I say, let them do this. Do you know what I mean? Let them spend the next 3 years trying to say that Nigel Farage is a racist. Like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
And they're always after him.
Yeah, and they always have been. And the thing is, he's almost uncancelable now. He's a bit like Trump in that sense. I did just want to show you one really weird thing, though, because it's almost like everyone in our mainstream media is just so pathetically woke and wet these days. And actually, the Daily Telegraph is one of the worst offenders. And this awful woman, Camilla Tominay, and I know some of you might like her because, she's on GB News. But seriously, she is as establishment as you can get. And anyway, there was an exchange, Carol, at, Reform UK do those press conferences. And there was an exchange at the press conference between Camilla Tominay and Nigel Farage. And Farage was like, and he is like up Tominay's arse. Do you know what I mean? Usually, they both work at GB News. They always speaking and having meetings and everything. But he clearly didn't like this particular question that Tominay was asking, trying to get Farage to choose between Zia Youssef and Richard Tice. So he gave a pretty tough response. Anyway, the Telegraph then make this big thing that Farage has been sexist as a result. Watch this.
You've scrapped the tax cuts that Richard Tice wrote into the contract with the people at the last general election. If Zia Youssef is now crunching the numbers for the announcements you're making today, should we presume that he's your preferred choice for Chancellor over Richard Tice now? Thank you.
Lovely try, but you should... No, it's very good. I mean, no wonder you're so well paid.
Not as well paid as you presume.
But I'm just not playing your silly little game, sorry. Right, moving on to the next question.
And as a woman, do you detect
an element of misogyny in all of this.
Well, I will say this, that if Tony Diver, our esteemed colleague who was sitting next to me, had asked the question, I'm not sure there would have been an aside about how much he was paid or however what the wording was. It
Nice
was
try.
Nice try.
Nice try, love. Why don't you sit down and let the lads ask the questions? It was a bit like that, wasn't it?
Maybe there is an element of that.
I mean, I do sometimes feel when I go to those reform events and a female journalist stands up, I'm surprised there aren't wolf whistles. It does have a saloon bar quality to it.
I'm sorry, Carol.
Unbelievable.
Like, what?
Unbelievable, isn't it? It really is. It's like, yeah, okay, you can talk about that situation in like, oh, he was being sexist, but I mean, you'll never know. He probably would have had the same reaction. It's like Trump doesn't. He doesn't decide whether or not what he's going to say is dependent on whether it's a woman asking the.
He's an equal opportunities offender.
Exactly. He does it
because everyone's really annoyed today, Carol, that Donald Trump called a reporter from Bloomberg piggy. I thought it was great, and he'll do the same thing to a bloke. I mean, Camilla, man up. Seriously, Camilla, you've got balls, okay? Camilla's more of a man than virtually anyone else in Westminster, she's a total ball breaker. Don't go down that path of, Nigel Farage was sexist to me. It's just, I thought that was ludicrous. But, as I say, even the Telegraph these days have gone completely woke and wet. Breaking right now, trust in the legacy press has collapsed as Brits turn to new media. Amazing, but not at all surprising. New statistics have revealed in a report revealed today by the Guido Fawkes website. And that comes as the sacked Talk TV presenter Mike Graham rejects GB News. Lots of folk, after his defenestration from the Rupert Murdoch station, saying, well, of course, he should just go to the rival, which has been trying to poach Mike on a big money salary for years. But in an exclusive interview with me, where he revealed his plans to launch a new independent breakfast show as early as next month, going directly head-to-head with Talk TV, Mike Graham said his days in the mainstream media, and that includes GB News, are over for good. Watch.
I've got no interest in going to GB News. People have said, you should go to GB News. Well, I don't really want to.
Why is that?
Because it'd just be the same, wouldn't it? I mean, you've been there.
I mean, they offered you, I know for a fact, Mike, I don't know if you're allowed to say this, but
they
offered you a huge amount of money.
They did offer me
to go there.
Yeah, what is called a something ton. But I didn't want to leave talk. I didn't want to leave news because I thought, this is the big organisation. This is where it's at. And I was very honest with them. I didn't, promise to go and then not go. I just was like, I mean, at one point they actually said, "How much do you want?"
And you don't regret that now, given what happened?
Not really, because I'm not one of those people that has regrets. I don't have regrets. I'm sorry that this happened. I'm disappointed in a way, but I'm also really excited about what's to come.
And Mike has revealed that he is now free, unleashed, and ready for the next chapter in a new Substack post today where he wrote, I had the pleasure of appearing on Dan Wootton Outspoken, my first time back on air since parting company with Talk TV. It felt bloody good to be behind a microphone again. First, a massive thank you to Dan. Well, it was an absolute pleasure. Mike said he gave me the space to tell my side of the story properly without interruption or gotcha moments, which is more than can be said for certain other quarters of the media these days. And he went on, I know the truth. I did not post that comment on Facebook, full stop. Of course, there are always two sides to every story, but in an age where a single screenshot, real or manufactured, can end a career before anyone bothers to check the facts, the outcome was sadly predictable. Talk chose not to renew my contract, and that's their prerogative. I bear them no ill will. It's the world we now live in. But here's the upside, and it's a big one. I am now free from corporate caution, free from endless compliance meetings, free from having to bite my tongue when the latest piece of approved nonsense is handed down from on high. It is genuinely a relief. More than that, it's liberating and, yes, exciting. The Mike Graham Show is about to get louder, sharper, and a damn sight more fun. Plank of the Week will continue its noble mission to call out the most idiotic people and ideas of the moment. And let's be honest, there's no shortage of material. There are also a few other projects bubbling away in the background that I'm itching to tell you about when the time is right. None of this would be possible or worthwhile without you lot, my audience, the people who ring in, who message, who stop me in the street to say, keep going, mate. You've stuck with me through everything, and I'm more grateful, than I can possibly express. You are the reason I do this, and you always will be. So consider this an official declaration. I'm back, I'm independent, and I'm more determined than ever to keep fighting for the common sense, free speech, and a bit of old-fashioned British straight talking. The best is yet to come. So Carol McGiffin, is this the right decision for Mike Graham to say, no way, GB News, I'm not even considering it because I want to be independent? Has he made the right decision, Carol?
Yeah. And I think I said this last time I was on your show. He should be out there. He obviously couldn't do anything until he was officially let go. But yeah, no, of course he should. Now, in listening to the interview you did with him yesterday, I mean, there were quite a few times where I thought, oh no, I don't know if I like him. But you know, the thing is, he was just being
World Economic Forum, I imagine, was one of those moments. Am I correct?
He's got some weird views, but they're his views and he's entitled to them. And you know what? I happen to believe him about that post, just by listening to him. And this is again, like he says, this is the world we live in now. Someone can take a screenshot and that's you done. You're done for, and it's a screenshot. It doesn't matter what you say you did or you didn't do. And he was right as well not to hand his phone over. So yeah, he's better off out of it, I think. Better off out of it. And I think anyone worth their salt would also be better off out of it. But there are too many people who stay in it and they do as they're told and they sit on the fences and you know are boring as a result of that because they need the jobs. But you know, I know Mike probably didn't really need the job, although he said he can't afford not to work. Not sure I believe that, but you know, good for him. I think he'll do all right. I think he will. I think there's room for him, and I think he will do all right. So yeah, he's absolutely 100% spot on, and definitely not to go to GB News. No, he's right about that as well. It would be exactly the same, and they are mainstream media really now, aren't they? They're
100%.
They're a mouthpiece.
100%.
So,
it's
yeah.
totally changed. I mean, I was thinking, I don't really, I mean, who would I watch on GB News now? Bev Turner, Ben Leo, Nana Aquare. I mean, 3 presenters, maybe Alex Armstrong. Do you know what I mean? There's not a lot, and that's sad for me. But like, I'm not watching Miriam Cates and Andrew Pearce. You know, it was interesting though, Carol, because I was really going to be fascinated to see the reaction from people after the interview as to whether they believed Mike or not in terms of the post. And the vast majority of people say they didn't believe him before the interview. Having watched the interview and watched his explanation, they now did. This from Albion Ancona. And interesting, Albion Ancona, you know, is the guy who runs Conservatives Against Racism. And he sees racism in a lot of things, Carol. You know, he's a friend of mine, but sometimes I disagree with him where he sees racism. So you could imagine he would have been naturally against Mike Graham, given, you know, that post. But Albie watched the interview, and thank you for doing so. And he watched the full interview, which is important. And he wrote, just finished watching Mike Graham's interview on Dan Wootton's Outspoken. I'll admit I was initially sceptical about his claim that he had been hacked. But having watched the full conversation, I now find his account credible. I was genuinely sad to hear what he's been through. I wish him the very best with his new independent media venture, and same to his former colleagues in their endeavours at Talk TV. Before you slag me off, watch the whole interview. Otherwise, I shall not take your criticism seriously. And as I say, that's someone who probably came in, Carol, thinking he definitely did this. He definitely posted this. He definitely is racist, whatever that means. But actually, Mike's argument was convincing, and it does lead me to believe, Carol, that the Talk TV bosses were just looking for an opportunity because Mike had that forensic report, which they could have used as a reason to bring him back. But deep down, they're going down a different path, Carol.
Yeah, I know you implied yesterday that to him that did he know anyone who might, you know, do this to him to want him out. But and I'm sure there definitely is, because as you know, it's easy to do, isn't it? It's easy to recreate these things and stitch someone up like that. But he wasn't very suspicious of that. But yeah, he's that I've met that what's his name?
Albion Kona.
Yeah, I've met him. Yeah, and he's a reasonable guy. But you're right. I would have suspected that he would have just stuck to his guns. No, he's a racist, and he did that post. But anyone who does listen to that entire interview cannot be in any doubt, I don't think, that he didn't do the post. Because when we were talking about it before, I was kind of on the fence. My jury was out. I thought, I don't know if I believe him or not. People, you can't prove it. It's another he said, she said. He says he didn't do it, and yet it's there. So you can never prove these things. So yeah, I thought he was good. I thought he was good on that point, and he was quite right not to have. What he was saying about how Talk wanted to take his phone away and copy it. God, all sorts of shit on there on him, couldn't they? I mean,
yeah.
And if it was, I'm not saying it was the Talk management, but it kind of looks that way to me, doesn't it?
Well, I think it was higher up. I think it was the News UK management who wanted him gone. Do you see what I mean?
Maybe.
And
Yeah.
they're a woke company now. They just are. It's so depressing, because of course people still now say, oh no, they're Murdoch. They're Murdoch. It's so implying that they are in some way, whatever term you want to use, Carol, conservative or right wing or freedom fighting or whatever, but they're not. They're absolutely not. They're like take the knee, Black History Month, COVID rules, I remember, like arrows on the floor in the office, all of that. It's just, it's a woke corporation thing. By the way, I've got to show you this BBC dude, because I'm loving the fact that, people are now speaking out against the BBC, including people who used to be connected to the BBC. So this is the former BBC clothes show presenter, Jeff Banks. I never watched the clothes show, Carol. Did you? It was huge in the 80s.
I did watch it, but I also know who Jeff Banks is quite well from his fashion designs. He was very, very big. His stuff was around in the 70s before you were born.
So big name, right?
Yeah, quite a big name. Yeah, in early UK 70s fashion.
Okay,
and
well
definitely.
he has now gone viral for speaking out, and we've got some video of this. Carol, watch this.
John Leith, who actually created the BBC, would be turning in his grave. He created it in 1927 on the principle that it would not bend to government, politicians, it would uphold the law, and it would be completely independent and unbiased. That's not the situation, however, that exists today. So on August the 19th of this year, when I got a demanding letter that I have a licence, I wrote back very respectfully and said, I don't want one, I don't watch anymore, and I don't listen to the BBC radio anymore. In my day, the World Service was held in esteem. It's not anymore. People are doubtful whether it's actually telling the truth, and the BBC has become extremely biased. Since then, I've had 5 threatening letters sent to me insisting that if I don't get a licence, I could actually be fined up to £1,000. And the last one that arrived last week actually threatened me, where people are actually going to come to my house, investigate me, because I'm now on a list. Me, I've had enough. I've now written to them, pointing out that this is now harassment.
Good on him! But I mean, how amazing that he's one of their former stars and they're now harassing him, threatening that he couldn't go to... I mean, good on Jeff Banks.
Yeah, he's spoken out about a couple of things, actually. I've seen him on Twitter or wherever he puts his stuff. And he's been reposted quite a lot. I'm not sure if it was the COVID thing or something like that, the Labour Party. But he's been quite vocal lately, and he's quite right about the BBC. But why anybody takes any notice of those stupid letters, that is, to me, is like the equivalent of standing in the street and looking out for the television detector van, which was an absolute joke. It was almost as hilarious as telling us that they landed on the moon in 1969. You'd have this van going around the street with some dodgy aerial on the roof, and you probably wouldn't remember it. You might not have been.
Well, Carol, I'm just laughing because I watched your Andrew Gold interview, as you know, and of course he was so horrified. I mean, you know, he's another guy who I can't stand, totally woke and weird, but he was so shocked by so much of what you had to say. But I think maybe most shocked by the fact that you don't believe in the moon landing.
No, I don't. I've never believed in it, and I've said it many, many times. But I also never believed when I was a kid, and my mum used to send me out into the street and go and look out for the television license detector van because we didn't have a license, we couldn't afford one, but we would still watch the telly. And they used to scare you to death by having this van with this dodgy sort of semi-satellite piece of rubbish on the roof of it and drive around so that you would not watch the TV. Like they were pretending they could detect the TV being on inside the house when, you know, there was no sort of cables or Wi-Fi or anything like that. There's no way they could have known. I didn't believe in that. And all those letters that come through the door, they're absolute nonsense. And there are thousands of them, and they just send them out. They don't know who's living at the address. If you've ever had a license at an address, they will constantly hound you, but they don't mean anything. And apparently, I've heard or I've read, they can't do anything about it. They can't, even if they come round, they can't force their way in. And if you let them in, more for you. But you know, you're allowed to have a TV these days. In the old days, you weren't even allowed to have a TV. You can have a TV, but you can't watch the BBC or you can't watch live television. That's why you need to have a license, or why you should have a license. But it's rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. Just say no, kids.
It is truly sick. It is truly twisted. Carol McGiffin, so brilliant to have you on Outspoken, of course, the host of the brilliant What's the Problem podcast, which is available on all podcast platforms, and a columnist for Best Magazine, Carol.
Yeah, and I'm on the cover this week.
Oh, are you talking about what?
Well, I did a Christmas shoot with Vanessa Feltz and Anne Widdecombe. So it's me and Widdy and Vanessa on the cover of Best Magazine, and we're labelled the 3 Wise Mouths. So I recommend you go out and buy it.
I'm desperately trying to find. How could you not tell me about that? I'm desperately trying to find it now, but I can't.
Well, you'll see the front page and part of the interview on Instagram, but it's
what, on your Instagram?
Yeah, I've reposted it, and it was put out as a story and the cover as well.
Okay,
so yeah,
I'm going to find this, Carol. I'm determined.
It's a great cover. We actually look all right.
To find this. Hold fire. Oh, there we go. Okay, we've even got video. Let's take a look at this. Glamorous. Do you know, I love Anne Widdecombe. I genuinely love Anne Widdecombe.
She is brilliant. I love her. She's just so funny. She's so down to earth.
That looks great.
Yeah.
That looks great. Okay, brilliant. Well, I will be buying. Best Magazine for that.
Thank you.
McGiff, thank you so much. We will speak very soon. Have a great week.
Yeah.
And of course, we are going to reveal our greatest Britain Union jackass in just one moment. But before that, to your feedback, lots of it today. By the way, thanks for the super chat, Life Educated 101. Who says of Shabana Mahmood that she imposes immigration bans on Christian countries, but didn't include Pakistan, Afghanistan in the list, which is a good point, of course. The Phobes 100 says, if Denmark as a liberal country can reduce their immigration, why can't the UK? Viv Photography says, I'm terrified for the people of the UK. It's crazy what's happening there. The patients are running the asylum. Adrian Smith says, Mahmood is blue Labour and stands no chance of replacing Starmer. Rayner or Miliband stand a much better chance. And M. Raid says, Reform UK don't want what's best for Britain. They want what's best for Reform UK. And let's take a look at your nominees again for today's Union Jackass. Shabana Mahmood nominated It's Only Me 44 for her plans to evict war heroes from their historic base in Scotland. Peter Mandelson nominated by Real Metcalfe for being caught peeing in the street. And Yasmin Alabaya Brown nominated by Matt Cass 48, because if we mention the nasty or murderous things done by illegal guests to our country, then we are quite clearly the bad people, right? Okay, the results are in. 11% go for Peter Mandelson, 16% go for Yasmin Alabaya-Brown, but by one of our biggest margins ever, Shabana Mahmood is your union jackass with 73% of the vote. And today's greatest Britain, well, it's a collective. The Scotland football team, nominated by Darren Donaldson for getting into the World Cup with 2 goals, taking them to victory in extra time. My fiancée is Scottish, of course, so I was incredibly happy about this result. How exciting, how great to have Scotland in the World Cup next year. First time in, a very long time. Very, very long time. So congratulations. I know there was a big celebration in Scotland last night. Okay, we're moving on to the Uncancelled After Show. Now, that is going to be over on Substack. You can sign up at www.outspoken.live, teaming up with P. Diner, the royal YouTube sensation, for all the latest royal news. So at this stage, we come off YouTube, we move to Substack. www.outspoken.live is the address. We'll be back live with you tomorrow, 5 p.m. UK time, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Turn on the notification bell. Make sure you subscribe to the Dan Wootton Outspoken podcast as well. We're available to watch on video now on Spotify, but you can also find us on Apple Podcasts, all other podcast platforms. All I ask is that you please rate and review 5 stars if you may. And most importantly, I promise to keep fighting for you.